I don't think it was the most effective game plan or the smartest thing. I think he might have gone into that fight with the wrong mindset.
And we're going to talk about it. Let's go.
Hi, it's Katy Bellissima with MMA Hot Lips. I am here with Coach John Wood. We're going to be doing Coach's Corner today, sponsored by Syndicate MMA. Welcome. So today we're going to talk about a few fights. We're going to talk about the Belal and Jack fight. We're going to talk about Gilbert Burns. He just had a fight today, last weekend too. And then we're going to talk about a couple of very important fighters to you. So I really want to get your take on, first, the Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena fight.
It's a tongue twister.
Right? So what are your thoughts on that? My thoughts are that Belal had great striking, but Jack had phenomenal striking. And I think he really did. I think Jack did a really good job of keeping Belal on his back foot a lot. Yeah. And he was not able to, come in and take him down to the ground as effectively as he could have. Belal is great on the ground as well. And I think in my point of view, I felt like Jack just was overall absolutely phenomenal, especially with the Muay Thai kicking. There was just so much excellence in that fight. Yeah. Belal was too. It was a warrior fight. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was a great fight, which Belal is obviously known for his ground control, being a wrestler, mainly ground oriented, and that's where he's won most of his fights. Not the most exciting fighter, that's the big knock on him. That's not been the most exciting guy, and people don't like his style in this. And I think that kind of played into this fight. Before the fight, he was talking about how he wasn't going to even shoot a takedown, how he was going to, use his boxing to prove to the world that he's this and he's that, and he did. I don't think it was the most effective game plan or the smartest thing. I think he might have gone into that fight with the wrong mindset of, what gets you to the dance, what gets you to the big show, what gets you to a title. You don't really want to get off of that. It doesn't really matter what people think or people say. Ultimately, when you've got the belt, you've got to keep that for as long as you possibly can. Do what made you, successful in the first place. That's a thing where it's like you want to be smart when you are a fighter. And again, too, I'm only speaking in the sense of what I saw. I don't know. He might have got in there, and maybe that was the game plan, to just start shooting takedowns, and Jack just stopped him.
Jack, he was amazing at the takedown.
Jack proved a very good point in that fight that he's overall a very, very well-rounded, skilled fighter.
I was surprised.
Which is going to lead up to the next now. Now he's a champion, and now Jack's going to be fighting the next best fighter out there every single time. And that's the thing with being a champion. It's great to be the champion. But you have 10 other guys nipping at your heels that are the next best guys that all want what you have. So there's a certain level of pressure and certain level of, it basically just comes with a lot, And so now obviously we've heard the talks of, Islam is moving up now.
Yep.
Vacated a title, so I'm assuming they're giving him the next title shot.
Well, I think they announced it. Didn't Dana announce that? Yes.
Yeah. Current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev is going to move up to the welterweight division to face Jack Della Maddalena.
So
not a date yet.
There you go. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be exciting?
Exactly. So now he's got the pound for pound best guy in the world. He's got to go fight. Whew. It is a weight class up, and it'll be interesting to see how Islam does with that. But I think Jack showed a lot of great skills in that fight that are going to carry him over into that Islam fight that he's going to need.
So let's pivot to the Gilbert Burns fight, because I've been watching Gilbert Burns forever. He's a veteran. He's amazing. He's had some just monster fights, but he's lost his last 4. 2 of them were knockouts. I was sad to see him lose to Michael Morales. And Michael Morales is number 12. So he's lost 4 fights. What are your thoughts as a coach? What would you say to him? How would you handle that if you were coaching him?
Yeah, that's always a tough go. Gilbert is at this point in time kind of a legend in the sport. He's earned the right. He's done some great things. He's a guy that, never just quite got there. He has all the skill sets, all the talent, all the toughness, and he's a really nice guy. I personally really, really like Gilbert.
him.
Like he's a
great.
great dude. He's a great representative of our sport. You know, but the one undefeated thing is father time. You know, it just catches up with you. It just catches up with you. You know, it's starting to catch up with me and this beard, and you know, like I feel it every day. And as a fighter, man, you know, at 38 years old, been doing this since he was, I'm sure, in his teens.
Yeah,
you know, it's tough. And so, unfortunately, like the fight, the way it, you know, played out, and he ended up losing the first round. He looked really good.
He did.
Up until that point, he looked really, really good. His skill set, like I don't see a diminishing, you know, skill set where he's looking. I wouldn't even say he looked slow. I wouldn't, you know, he looked good. He looked like he was fighting. He managed some takedowns after he got in trouble. You know, there's a lot of things still there, but you just don't know after the time and abuse that your body takes. Is it the chin that's going? Is it the speed? Is it the cognizance?
Exactly.
Is it the hand-eye coordination? So I think we are, you know, getting to that point where, you know, this, you've seen this in a lot of fighters that start to get up in age where maybe it's best to not be ranked. If you still want to fight, go out there and have some fights. I think the UFC lately has been doing some of these old dogs some good stuff, and these guys that have been around, they've been allowing them to have, you know, fights and still fight and have good fights. And I think there's still some really good fights out there for Gilbert. You know, I've had those conversations recently in the last few years with some people where I'm like, I don't see the fire that you had a couple of years ago anymore in here.
Gotcha.
You're doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So that's usually my first goal is if you're not putting the work in to still compete at that high level, we got a problem.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Okay, let's move on to somebody that is very important to you. Two people.
Yep.
Luana Santos.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that fight was amazing.
Yes.
I actually watched her spar a few days prior to her fight, and I was talking to someone saying, she is a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, her footwork, just everything about her is star quality, in my opinion.
Agreed.
You could just tell she shines. And the way she controlled Tatiana, was her name, on the ground, I mean, she just controlled her on the ground, and she just made that work. I thought that was amazing what she did, and just, and the really cool thing is the first woman ever to do the Americana. Oh my gosh, I had not seen that ever.
Yeah.
And so she's the first woman to do the Americana. Did she practice that in
you know,
practice or?
It's funny. The Americana is a move that when you start doing jiu-jitsu, it's kind of a very basic day one move. It's very hard to hit because it's easy to get out of. So being, you know, her judo background is what really helped get that.
Right.
Their positioning in judo is so much different than jiu-jitsu and that top game that they have and that control when they're cross-body. They do a lot of things that we don't normally do or positions that are hard to hold in jiu-jitsu. But with years and years and years of training, you know, at a high level, being a black belt in judo, coming from a lineage, you know, her dad and all these things, just coming through that, it makes it a lot easier in something you can control the person. You have to be really able to control that person to hit that.
And she was.
So, and a lot of people don't respect it anymore because, like I said, it's almost one of those like day one moves that you go like, and it's not because it's not a great move. It's just really hard to get.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to defend. And so with Luana's control, it just, man, and you know, how the control that she was implementing in that fight and game plan and what she did, it just opened it up and she took a chance at it and got it.
She did. Oh my gosh. And I was a little bit nervous watching that arm bend back the way it was. And I was thinking, okay, she's got her other arm under her.
Yeah.
How is she going to tap?
Yeah, she was tapping before
she was
that.
looking at the...
She was tapping before that. And Luana actually, you know, had to tell the referee.
Are you going to stop this
fight? She's tapping because the elbow was popping. You know? So there's definitely some damage there. But
that was cringe.
You know, Luana, it's rough and that's how it goes. And Luana is one of those people, like you said, she has all the pieces.
She does.
There to do something special.
Oh, yes.
So I think that like there is definitely a lot of potential for her to really, really make an impact and make a splash in the UFC. And I think real soon you're going to see a number next to her name. And,
good.
You know,
I'd love to see that.
I think a lot of big things from her.
Great. Yeah, that's how I feel too. You could just tell. So let's pivot to the big fight that's coming up June 7th. Merab.
Yep.
Merab and Sean O'Malley. Oh my gosh. This is really exciting because, they fought before, obviously. And I love all the banter that Merab does with the Sean doll.
Sure.
Does he bring it in the gym with him too?
Sometimes. He's made an appearance a few times here.
He
So.
cracks me up.
Yeah.
So y'all take a chance, take a turn on it.
Yeah.
No offense, Sean. I love you too. But Merab is an amazing fighter. Like he won the last one, and I'm looking forward to the second rematch. Your thoughts on this fight? Does Merab have things to work on? What kind of strategy do you feel like, without giving away, the vault of things? What kind of things do you think he ought to work on?
Well, obviously we've been in there before with Sean, and more or less Sean's been in there before with us. So we had great success in the first fight, and so it's really up to them to come with a new game plan and new things, and then it's really up to me to kind of figure out what I think that game plan would be.
Yeah.
If we go out there and fight the same fight and they fight the same fight, we're getting the same result.
Sure.
That wouldn't be smart. I think Sean's got a great coach in Tim Welch, and I think he's a great MMA minded coach. He's good at everything, so I think he's going to be able to make some adjustments, and they have no doubt gone back and watched that fight 10,000 times.
I'm sure.
And they're going to nitpick it and try to pick it apart. And obviously, I've gone back and watched that fight 10,000 times. And if I was, the coach or the person in the other camp, here's what I'd be looking for. So I always attack things from that perspective, not even just in rematches, but I look at all my fighters, fights. And the way I focus on coaching is to fix my fighter in what areas they're not good in. I don't worry so much about the other opponent, but here's the things that we need to close up, the mistakes that we need to sharpen up first, and then focus on that. I always want my fighter, whether it's Merab or whoever, to go in there well-rounded to be able to handle whatever comes. So I have my ideas and have my thoughts, and obviously we have a game plan of what we think that they're going to try to change.
Sure.
And I think that we'll shut that down, and I think that fight will, by the second, third round, will be going exactly the same way, if not worse, for Sean. That's the plan. So Merab is there's a reason why he's a champion. And many, many factors come into it, but he is an athlete, and we are unlocking things as he gets better. I've said this time and time again in so many different, interviews and facets of ways. Merab is very green at MMA. He's very young in the MMA game. When he came here, he's just this little wild ball of clay, this crazy little Tasmanian devil. And if you'd have asked me years ago, I would not have thought that he has the skill sets and the attributes that he actually has that we're now unlocking. And a lot of it just came from footwork, fixing his footwork, fixing the path, the ideas of what he needed to do. And now he is such a proficient fighter in striking, in grappling, wrestling, everything. So we're just now tweaking those things too, to where, my goal is to have him be finishing fights, having to be at least attempting to finish Sean. Sean's a great fighter. There's no doubt he's going to be tough. There's no doubt that he's going to be hard to finish, but my goal is to make it to where Merab has the opportunities for those things to start happening.
Right.
And he's just gotten better at everything. He's in here every single day.
He's a hard worker.
He's in here every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. He listens, he learns. A lot of fighters don't succeed because they don't keep growing, or they go through a camp, take a bunch of time off, forget, what they've learned or what they've gone. Yeah. He's one from camp to camp to camp. He keeps growing and getting better and getting better. And we just keep adding tools to the toolbox, and he keeps learning how to use them. So it's a really it's a really great fight for us, and it's exciting, to go back, our first rematch.
I know.
To see how somebody's dealt with, how they deal with what they felt.
Right.
The big thing with Merab is everybody looks at Merab, oh, I can do this. I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to be able to stop this. I can do this. Because it looks chaotic. It looks crazy. Sometimes even like say it looks sloppy. But that's what
he does.
That's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's what he does best.
I don't want to change. I never want Merab to look like a traditional classic striker or classic wrestler. That's why he can go out there and out-wrestle an Olympic wrestler. That's why he can go out there and outstrike a world-class striker. He can do all these things because of his style. So we're just adding on to that.
You know what I love about Merab most of all is his cardio. The man is a machine.
He really is.
I mean, literally a machine.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody. I've never seen anybody with better cardio.
No one's seen it.
I don't think I've ever seen any fighter with better cardio.
No one
you?
has seen that. No, absolutely not.
Oh my gosh.
The fact of what he does in here on a daily basis, like today is a sparring. He's going to come in and he's going to do 6 rounds in the cage. And he's going to do 6 hard rounds. And a lot of times I like to keep the same person or only have maybe 1 or 2 people at the most in sparring rounds, but we have to have 3 or 4 with him because after 2 rounds, they're smoked. And we're talking about high-level guys. We're talking about the best in the business. We're talking about former world champions. We're talking about elite, young up-and-comer kids that have gas tanks that they try.
And he's killing everybody.
What's crazy is the harder they go, in that one round to try to win that round, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're trying to win one round, great. We're trying to win a fight. You will lose to Merab by trying to win a round. You try to win a round, he's going to keep that pace up and he's going to bury you.
Yeah, he's probably filing his nails while they're trying to do things.
He'll come in here and do 6 rounds, and then he's going to go out back to the mat. And I'll tell him not to do it, but he's going to go out on the mat and he's going to do another 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, right.
The dude will do 10 rounds, and his 10th round looks just as good as his round number 2, round number 3, if not better. He's one of those guys, and that's part of the thing with him. He's one of those guys that it just does this. It never drops off. So the harder you push, the harder you go, the harder he goes, and it drives him, motivates him.
Yeah, so I think he's got a long way to go in the UFC. He's a treasure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just awesome. And he's got a great personality, too. So that really
great
matters.
Person, great human.
Great person.
Love him, we'll be in here and he'll do his sparring, he'll do his stuff, we'll do our sessions, then he's in here grappling with the kids. Yeah. We're messing around with the kids, and my son absolutely adores him and loves him, and it's so cool to be able to have somebody like that be around and be a role model. He'll stop and talk to all the kids, and we were talking about last night, he's like, oh my God, he's like, it's so great to have all these kids in here. He's just such a good guy. He's got a great heart. Good human being, and he deserves everything he's getting, everything he's earned, and I hope, I really do hope that he goes down as the best, the best his division there ever was.
I'm really anxious to see that fight, so I'll obviously be there. So I have some questions I wanted to ask you as a coach.
Sure.
How does your team prepare differently for a rematch? Like we're talking with Merab. I mean, you just really kind of covered it where you are going to just be tweaking some of the things that Sean may be doing or the other opponent, right?
Yep.
Tweaking watching it, Sean might be doing this. How are we going to combat that?
Yep.
Things like that. So that's kind of how you prepare. Do you both watch film together?
Yeah, we do. I try not to get my guys too obsessed about fights. There's some fighters that love to just watch tape, but you never know what's going to happen in a fight. So when I game plan for a fight, I don't overly put such a huge emphasis on here's what has to happen.
Yeah.
Because you see it all the time. That game plan fails and the fighter's stuck in game plan mode.
Right.
So it's game plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. One of those is going to get the job done. And if A doesn't get the job done in the first, it might get the job done in the 5th. So we move on and we come back and go. So it's basically have my guy prepared for whatever happens. If Sean wants to come out and try to wrestle Merab, great. If he wants to try to submit Merab with a guillotine, if he wants to try to flying knee, if he wants to try to kick the body, attack the body because they had a momentary of success in that, and then, try to head kick him or do whatever. Those are the things that like I said, we'll be prepared for. We'll be prepared for everything. But, it's really no different than any other fight. It's just that we have tape on the actual fight.
Yes.
I can go back and watch it, but I expect it to be a different fight for a couple rounds. I expect it to be a different fight for, a round or two before we completely take over and dominate again.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Sean is going to combat that. I think the rumor was that he was injured a little bit.
Oh yeah, everybody's injured.
Yeah,
Everybody's injured. This is one thing that drives me crazy, and I tell my guys.
I was injured.
I tell my fighters, shut up. If you're taking a fight injured, you're taking a fight, you're signing up. I don't give a shit. I don't want you to hang. I was injured. Don't take the fight then.
So I have one last question, and you've watched the movie Rocky, have you? Okay. So you remember the first Rocky, where Mickey was talking to him and saying the famous line,
"Women weaken legs."
do you ever tell your people, stay away from women?
I mean, it's not bad advice, you know. Women, it's. I'm going to tread lightly here on this one, but you know, it really is one of those things where it depends on the fighter.
John, I enjoyed our first Coach's Corner. I'm looking forward to doing a couple others along the way every month and get your perspective on fighters and upcoming fighters that are coming up. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification button, and you will get every video I launch. Thanks for watching. MMA Hot Lips out.